It was a quiet Sunday morning, just as the clock struck 9, when I found myself lost in thought about my marriage to Mia. We had been together for 35 years, sharing our lives in a small but cozy home just outside the city. It wasn't much: one bedroom, a living room, and a garage that opened to a wide terrace. We had room for 2 cars and my prized motorcycle, which I often rode when I needed to clear my head. That morning, Mia mentioned casually that she had plans for Friday night. She said she was going out, on a date. The words hit me like a punch. Friday nights had always been ours, a tradition we kept without fail. She explained that the man she was meeting was a coworker from another branch of her company. It was his birthday, she said, and she wanted to celebrate with him. She told me how their relationship had grown over time, from polite chats during work visits to sharing coffee breaks and eventually lunches together. Then, one afternoon, he came by her office to say goodbye and kissed her. I asked, my voice a little sharper than I meant, if she had agreed to go out with him right after that. She hesitated, then admitted she had probably given him some sign that the kiss would be welcome. But it was just a kiss, she insisted, as though that made it harmless. Trying to hold my temper, I asked, "Did you kiss him back?" Her reply was soft but clear. Yes. The days that followed blurred together, tense discussions, quiet meals, moments where we barely spoke. Each time we talked about that dinner, Mia stayed calm, almost too calm, which only made me feel worse. Eventually, she admitted there wasn't going to be a party at all. Just a dinner. Just the 2 of them. I felt anger rise in me. "Are you planning to sleep with him?" I asked. She didn't answer right away, and the silence spoke louder than any words. When she finally did respond, she asked why I would even think that. I told her she seemed almost giddy about it, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. I reminded her of how she had praised his looks before. She didn't deny it. "Yes, he's attractive. Yes, I'm excited," she admitted. She said the flush on her face had only been from rushing home to bake him a birthday cake. I couldn't remember the last time she had baked a cake for me. She shot back that she always took me to my favorite restaurant for my birthday, as though that made it even. She went on to explain that Richard was divorced, wasn't even planning to celebrate, and she just didn't want him to spend the evening alone. That didn't soothe the tightness in my chest. I asked if she even knew why he got divorced. She said she didn't. They had never talked about it, but insisted he was a good man. Finally, I told her I would come with her to the dinner. She didn't hesitate. "No, you won't. It's a date," she said plainly, almost defiantly. Once again, I asked, "Are you going to sleep with him?" Her voice was steady. "I'm not planning to." Those words did nothing to calm me. "You know he wants to," I said. "That kiss wasn't just friendly. He's expecting more." "Michael," she said patiently, "just because he wants something doesn't mean I'll do it. Men might hope for that, but that doesn't mean it will happen." "Then you admit it's possible," I pressed. She said I was blowing everything out of proportion. "It's just dinner," she repeated, but I wasn't convinced. "You've had dinners with coworkers before, but never like this. This man kissed you, and you kissed him back. And now you're dressing up for him." "I'm going," she said firmly. I lost control of my words. "He's more than a coworker. You still haven't told me you won't sleep with him." She shrugged. "I'm not planning on it, but I can't promise it's impossible. It depends on how the evening goes." Her brutal honesty hurt worse than any lie. I asked what she meant. Would she sleep with him in his car? At a hotel? She ignored my sarcasm and told me she'd already called a cab for the next night. "It'll be here at 7, she said. "So, I can drink without worrying about driving?" I shot back bitterly. She sighed. "Yes, I might have some wine, but even if I didn't, I wouldn't drive." Just then, the oven timer rang. "Cake's done," she said, heading to the kitchen. "Maybe I'll have a slice," I muttered. "Don't touch it," she snapped. "It's just sponge cake. I don't even like it," I said. "That's right," she replied coldly. She placed the cake on a rack to cool, mumbling something about adding fresh cream later. By the next morning, the cake was neatly packed in a box. "Ready," she said. "And don't even think about touching that box." "I won't," I said, half hurt, half amused, and went back to sit in the living room. I asked where they were having dinner. The Hilton, she replied. Figures, I said with a dry laugh. Let me guess, he booked a room too. Enough, Michael, she shouted. Your jealousy is out of control. Richard didn't book a room. It's just dinner. But if you keep this up, maybe I will sleep with him just to spite you. Her words left me stunned. Then she said, here's the deal. If you drop this, I'll be home by midnight. No drama. Then Saturday at 9 in the morning, we talk. Whatever you decide, I'll accept it. If you want me to stop seeing him, I will. 9 a.m. I repeated. Yes. Saturday, she confirmed. Fine, I said at last. I'll eat early tomorrow and stay out of your way. But I have 2 conditions. She waited. First, I'll sleep in the guest room tonight and won't talk to you until Saturday morning. Second, if you sleep with him, our marriage is over. Fair enough, she said, emotionless. Friday came. Mia was home before me, in the kitchen, putting the finishing touches on the cake. Happy birthday, Richard was written in chocolate on top, surrounded by little pink hearts. She greeted me briefly, but I said nothing and just stood in the doorway. When she stayed busy, I went to the guest room to change. Later, I slipped quietly into our bedroom. In the bathroom, I noticed the expensive bath oil I had recently given her was missing. She was planning to use it before she left. On the bed, her outfit for the evening was laid out, perfectly arranged. I found the black dress, the lace-top stockings, the black underwear, an outfit I'd never seen before. A velvet choker with a tiny glittering stone lay there, but no bra. I stared at the carefully assembled things while a heavy quiet settled over me. The space under the bed said what the missing high heels did. They weren't there. The terrace curtains were drawn. I locked the bedroom door, slipped the key into my pocket, and went back to the living room where the TV murmured in the background. From the kitchen came Mia's voice, calm and measured. I'm going to get ready, she said, then added in a tone that sounded practiced. Michael, I know you're upset, but there's nothing to see. By tomorrow, this will be behind us. I nodded without replying. My insides felt anything but settled. When she shut the bedroom door, I felt a resolve take hold. I pulled the motorcycle cover off in the garage and rolled the bike out to the terrace. I could hear water running in the bathroom. She was in the tub. When the faucet stopped, I took the quiet as my cue, unlocked the bedroom with the terrace key, and slipped inside. I spread the motorcycle cover on the floor, opened her wardrobe, and began to take everything down, clothes from the hangers, the black dress from the bed, even the contents of her drawers. I left her purse on the pile. I closed the wardrobe and looked at the outfit she'd laid out, stockings, a choker, and the unmistakable heels. I couldn't leave her without shoes. Even fury has limits. I found her phone in the purse. Along with the usual things, cash, cards, I discovered a small, sewn-in packet of contraceptives. We had never used any. I pocketed them. Everything else I bundled into the trunk of the car, including her phone. I checked the taxi booking she'd made. Pick up at 7 o'clock. It was nearly 6:30. I called the taxi company. Hello, I'd like to cancel the ride, I said, adding a dry laugh about her having come down with a cold. No problem, sir. Thanks for letting us know, came the reply. I locked the bike to the terrace rack and fastened a cake box to the rear. To kill time, I stopped at a tiny corner shop. Can I borrow a pen? I asked. The cashier, a young woman, handed over a thick marker with a knowing smile and a pink heart-covered card tucked behind the counter. This happens more than you'd think, she said. I wrote, in broad strokes, stay away from my wife or this birthday will be your last. I arrived at the hotel just before 7 and spotted him through the restaurant window, alone at a table, dark hair, red tie, a bottle of wine, 2 glasses, one untouched. He wore a rescue helmet and held the cake box. I went to the desk. Cake delivery for Mr. Thomas, I said. The receptionist waved me through without looking. He didn't know me. I sat down opposite him. A special delivery from Mia. I told him in a steady voice, letting the uncertainty hang in the air. I set a napkin in my lap and opened the box to reveal a carefully made cake. But the real surprise wasn't sweet. Beneath the napkin, my hand closed around something hidden. It's your birthday, I murmured. And I have a gun. Say one word and you won't leave here alive. His face drained of color. I was going to ask him some questions. Mia had already answered mine. Lie and you won't walk out. His hands trembled. How many times have you slept with her? I asked. Never. He stammered. I swear, not once. I slid the accusation. But you booked the room. I wanted to, he admitted. But it wasn't a sure thing. The big question. Did Mia know about the reservation? He swallowed and muttered. Yes. I glanced around. No one was paying attention. You know how it feels to be betrayed? I asked. I gave him two choices. I could pull the trigger, and I wasn't bluffing, or I could make him do something humiliating. I lowered my voice and told him to shove his face into the cake. He obeyed without hesitation, burying his face in frosting. His red tie disappeared under cream. I slowly withdrew my hand from beneath the napkin. There wasn't a gun, only a plastic bag full of whipped cream. I squeezed it and extra splattered onto his lap. Well, Richard, I said lightly, you got your cream. I dropped the napkin next to the card, stood, drank his wine casually, and then poured the rest over his head. A few diners glanced over, but no one intervened. Back home, Mia sat on the couch in a robe, hair damp from the bath. What did you do, Michael? She shouted. I put a finger to my lips and said, Saturday, 9. Then I went to bed at 7 the next morning. I woke her by tossing a pile of her clothes onto the bed. You locked the door, she said in disbelief. I waved the spare key, the one I'd used to slip in through the terrace. Without a word I got on the bike and rode to the next town for breakfast. I came back precisely at 9. We ate in silence. I placed a large, sharp cake knife between us. She wore a plain tracksuit. You'd look nicer in a dress, I said. Maybe stockings, a choker. She ignored the jab. What else did you do last night besides stealing my clothes? I told her I'd stopped by the hotel. I'd told Richard she wouldn't be coming and delivered the cake she'd made. He loved it, I said. I slid her bag and phone across the table. Oh, and I deleted his number. You won't get it back until Wednesday. She said softly she might recover it. I reminded her about last week when she swore it had only been dinner, that there was no reservation. Now Richard had booked a room, and from what I'd found, there was no way she hadn't known. Then I pressed the point. Tonight I sleep in our room. You get the guest room. Divorce papers will be ready this week. By the weekend I want you out. Her jaw dropped like his had. I'm selling the house, I went on. You'll get nothing. No alimony. You'll manage. She began to plead. Please, she started. No, I cut in. You thought I'd just sit here while you ran off with someone else. I reminded her of the stockings, the thong, the missing bra, of promising dinner in an hour while the taxi was booked for 10. What were you doing for 3 hours? I asked. I produced the 3 contraceptives I'd found and pinned them to the table with the knife. You can keep this table, I said. You're a liar, you cheated. I regret 35 years with you.